on the Higher Side Chats. That was an awesome podcast. You should definitely go check that out. And if you're a Plus member of the Higher Side Chats too, it gets even better. So I know most of you guys listen to the Higher Side Chats, so go check that out. I was listening to it today at work. But either way, we're going to do this thing, and I'll be your navigator through the strange and the unexplained. Tonight, we're cracking open some big mysteries. We're going to talk about the new radar scans under the pyramids, the ancient art of alchemy, and where conspiracy theorists stand in 2025. So Juan's here with us. I'm a big-time fan of his show, and I've been on his show. He's been on mine a few times. Podcaster and master of the occult, alchemy, and all things homunculus. So we're going to be diving deep. Now, Juan's the guy behind the One-on-One podcast, if you're not familiar. So he's dug into the darkest corners of the occult, decoded alchemy, and even tackled the wild idea of creating life with a homunculus. So, Juan, what's up, brother, man? How you been? It's been a minute.
What's up, dude? It has been a minute, but I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me. I have been in the deepest, darkest, most moist corners of the occult and of the internet.
Well, look, man, I don't know too many people that will pull up documents and dig for stuff, that other people haven't found. I know you, and the only other people I know that do that are occultists, like magicians, that are actually trying to look up grimoire stuff, So for research purposes, I don't know too many people doing that, is what I'm saying. So I applaud you for that, man.
I consider myself somewhat of a mimetic occultist, mimetic magician, right? Using memes to leverage for views and whatnot. So I guess I'm a little past the armchair occultist, as I've considered myself for a long time. And I think that a lot of the knowledge that is occulted is in a lot of these books that otherwise you wouldn't be able to read if you weren't like an actual expert in Latin, or one of the latest ones that I've been working on is German, 15th or 16th century German. So I had to hire a German historian to edit the AI OCR text. So we have the AI, but the AI, as we're going to be talking about today, is not perfect. So I had to get the AI to do some of the work, which it does a bulk of the work. And then I had to hire an actual person because we still need people who are actual legitimate experts in the field to edit what the AI couldn't pick up. And in this case, I believe it was 16th century German that he went ahead and fixed up for me. And now I have to translate it. So we'll see what I pull out.
Sure. I hope it's cool, man. I hope that's pretty interesting, actually. Yeah, I don't know too much about any of that, so I can't wait to hear what you come up with. But so let's start. I mean, I don't suppose anybody knows a massive amount of information about this, but let's start with this bombshell, okay? Like these new radar scans under the Giza pyramids. So scientists like Filippo Biondi, they say they use this synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, to peek beneath Khafre's pyramid. And they found, everybody's talking about it, but just in case you don't know, they found a 2-kilometer underground network, 5 identical structures, 8 deep wells, 2 massive cubes. I'm no expert, but that's pretty wild, okay? Even if it's, messed up radar scans, to say they found all of that. But what's your take on this, man? Where do you stand on this stuff?
So I've been keeping up with the story pretty well because, like a lot of things, and the truth is stranger than fiction when it comes to a lot of reality itself. I mean, you've experienced it out of body. So I've experienced sleep paralysis. So we know that there is something to the metaphysical. There is something to the occult. But the conspiracy is it all real? Right? Because we can talk about it, but we don't have 100% of the proof. Like I can talk about the homunculus, but can I show you a homunculus? No, I can read to you accounts and the information that's out there that's related to it, but I can't show you a homunculus. And so when it comes to this pyramid thing that came out recently, that a lot of people freaked out about, but here's the thing, Joe, you do know that the information that they pulled from this radar scanning was interpreted by AI.
Gotcha.
So
That's something we need to think about for real instead of jumping all over, whatever.
Yeah. So, and that's why everyone's freaking out because, and listen, I want it to be true. How I want the Philosopher's Stone to be true. How I want Bigfoot to be true. I want all that to be true. Like, if it is the truth, if it is out there, trust me, I am on that team. But to take this thing wholeheartedly, how everyone's like, oh, now we have to dig and all this stuff. The chances of it being true are slim. And what are the chances that the information being gathered? Now, I'm not saying that the technology could be a breakthrough, bro. It could be something new. It could be the next frontier for whatever, having essentially X-ray vision is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
As a kid, you ever been out fishing, bro? And not even as a kid, as a grown man, I think about this. I go, man, I wish I had X-ray vision so I could see through all the water right now.
Yeah, right.
See where all the fish are at, right? And we kind of have that. We have the sonar and the radar, but it wouldn't be, like a kid, thinking as a kid, like if I had a superpower, it'd be to see through, through women's clothing or whatever. As a kid, you're thinking about this, like, I wonder if I could see through walls. And essentially, this technology is that the technology has an application. But the application it has is they can only penetrate, like 30 centimeters of the surface. But the way that they have advanced it, and mind you, this is not peer reviewed. It's the dude's algorithmic concoction. It's not open source, so nobody can peek behind the veil, if you will.
Right. And that's the thing I didn't looked up too, is that it only goes so deep, right? Like it only penetrates so deep. So what you're saying is the AI's, based on the information they're giving us, AI is coming up with the rest of this.
Yes. So they have the scans, and that information from the scans, which again, pareidolia, it looks like there's something going down with the staircase, all going around there. People are saying, "Oh, it's coils going around." The whole that information of the scans was then plugged into an AI. That AI generated the picture that we're all freaking out about. Like, oh, look at this. Bigger than the Empire State Building underground. And if you look at the historical timeline, now, here's where the conspiracy thought gets into play, because people would go, oh, well, that's what the powers want you to think, that there's nothing down there. Because if we look at the water table, but the water table kind of sort of plays into the conspiracy, because people go, well, all those structures that far deep down are covered in water. And then people are like, no, what if it uses the water for conductivity? And it's part of the whole scheme of things. So people build this conspiracy on top of it. And when you try to debunk it, people just kind of reinforce it with like, it's supposed to be underwater because that's how the technology works. Well, how the hell did they get those pillars down there to begin with? And I believe, I think it's 4 large cubes that are down there attached to those 4 columns, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you can pull up the pictures or not, but
yeah, I had them up.
I've been looking into it.
It looks like 2 big cubes, I thought, but it could be 4, like 2 big cubes that they all go into. But the thing is is this going to be enough for them to even get permission to go digging under there? Because that's the big thing, right? Like, it doesn't matter without real proof. We need real proof of stuff,
And that's the thing, Joe. So you're saying, are they going to get permission? But what I think is happening is, I think this dude dropped this bombshell so he can get funding for his technology. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to kick off, because think about it. If the government, which we've talked about, how the military industrial complex has all this covert and crazy technology that is X amount of years ahead of its time, ahead of the civilian technology that we're presented, right? If we have ChatGPT, version 5, they have ChatGPT, the ethereal version that can see through space and time, right? Like, that sort of thing. Imagine if the government or the military industrial complex could use this technology to just go look underground in all those hidden military bases all around the world from foreign powers and everything. It'd be insane. You get what I'm saying? And that's why I am going to reiterate the fact that it might be technology that the government might have already had. And they're using it for their applications, but in the hands of the civilians, things get a little iffy, because then where else are people going to start looking underground? Are they going to start looking at, Chichen Itza and all these other, Pumapunku, or anywhere else that, that have these megalithic structures? They're going to start poking around. And then that's where the conspiracy thought goes, and it's like, oh, they don't want you to have this, because then they don't want you to learn the true truth about history, right? Like, so am I skeptical? Yes.
As you should be.
As you should be. But am I throwing out the baby with the bathwater 100%? No, because do we truly know what's underneath them? Not really. I mean, so allegedly they've done LiDAR scans and different studies of the ground there and all this other stuff. But again, it's coming from the mainstream, coming from the mouth of those people. And by those people, I'm talking about the academics and the non-Graham Hancock types, right? That don't, which, to be honest, Graham Hancock's idea of there being an advanced civilization that kind of sort of built all this, I think, I'm going to say it, I think humans built this, bro. I think that humans built this because humans are capable of a lot of extraordinary things. I don't think aliens or Atlanteans or Tartarians built any of this stuff, bro. I think that's just, people applying this mythology to it because they want to, again, fantasize about history, which is how we get stories. I mean, if you look at Tolkien's work, it's all just one big fantasy that he made with the world, right? And I think that's in human nature. That's the monomyth. That's, Campbell and having these sort of stories that resonate with people. And I think that people, they disconnect that and they start to apply these archetypes in reality. And I think that's why conspiracies are born too.
Well, you've studied things like structures and hidden structures. Did the pyramids just themselves fit any occult lore, any alchemical vibes? Like, this is what you hear from people. Pyramids are energy machines and things like that. Do you think they are?
So if we're going to get into the realm of alchemy, which the land of Chem, which is Egypt, right? This is where essentially alchemy originated. Now, the original alchemy was creosophia, which was turning colors, the different colors of the metals, right? That developed in Egypt, but Hermes Trismegistus and all these people were part of that, Greco, Egyptian, Greco, that area of time, right?
Yeah.
First, second, third century. And what ends up happening, if we want to fit this conspiracy into the alchemical standpoint, you technically can make artificial gold. Technically, you can. It just takes extreme amounts of energy in order to do that. And I'm talking about nuclear amounts of energy. So if the pyramids are some sort of energetic structure that's meant to do, I don't know what, but I've never been there. I was going to go last year, but my friend ended up going to South America and the whole trip got just jumbled around and I couldn't go. But from what I've been told of people who have been there, they say, and again, this might be just, I feel it, but that when they walk into the pyramid, they feel some sort of energy, almost as if it's working, but not at 100%, right? Not even at 1% of its capability.
Yeah.
Again, that's just a person saying, yeah, I'm sure you've heard it. That's where Crowley made contact, allegedly, according to the lore, right? He spent a night in the King's or Queen's chamber? He spent the night there, and that's where he got a download, right? Is it tapping into something? Maybe, perhaps, because I don't buy the whole it was a burial chamber and this is a huge, crazy tomb. I don't buy that story.
Yeah, I don't think it's that either. It's such a mystery, man. It really is. And it throws, I understand the symbol of the pyramid and what it stands for and the balancing of the four quarters, and how it peaks to the eye. I understand all of that, like that energy thing. Also understand biogeometry and all of these different things. But the mystery of the pyramid remains a mystery. It always has. And it seems like the more everybody starts throwing out answers, the more convoluted it gets, right? Like, what would I really want to know, like, what would it take for us to be able to actually dig? I mean, they'd have to go far, far more than just say, we got these images, Like, something would have to happen. Like, something would have to come up out of ground or something,
It would have to start levitating out of the ground, like in that, what's that one movie where they start flying away?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that how Göbekli Tepe started? Didn't they find like a
Scan.
Yeah, it was it started with a scan, but they found other stuff, and then they started getting funding, and I think that Egypt would be even harder to get that going because of all the regulations and stuff. So,
and that's the problem, and that's where and again fuels the conspiracy of they don't want us. There's two sides of that coin, right? You could say all day long they don't want us to find the truth, whatever the truth is, and then another part of it is, are you willing to destroy some of history, some evidence of history in order to find that truth? So there's this ethical side of it where how much are you willing to destroy of those structures in order to see if there's anything underneath it versus, conserving it for further people and just keeping the mystery alive, because it's a mystery. Was it built in 20 years, how they say? I don't think so, dude. If you look at these cathedrals, right? Speaking of Fulcanelli and alchemy and all these, if you look at these crazy, intricate cathedrals, which are beautiful and they're magnificent and they're huge, they take hundreds of years to build. You get what I'm saying? Now, it's a little bit more intricate and detail oriented, but it still takes, if you look up any cathedral, it takes 500, 400 years, whatever it is, to build cathedral. I looked it up one time on one of my shows. I was going down the rabbit hole of how long it took to build the cathedrals. And then when you look at the pyramid, which just the size of the structure itself, I believe it takes up 20 acres, just the size of it. And the fact that there's 3 of them, well, there's more, but the 3 main ones that we all see, the sheer size of it, I think it took more than 20 years. Now, if we dig into, hey, I believe people are able to do it because if you look at, for example, Edward Leedskounen in Coral Castle, which is Florida, who erected this entire castle made out of I believe it's coquina stone by himself. It took him, I believe, 30 years to do it, but he was still able to do it. And he was using like old Ford axles and bearings and things of this nature. But people would speculate. And I believe he also said that he had figured out the secrets of how they constructed the pyramids. But what's interesting about him, because people speculate, oh, he only worked at night because he had levitation or whatever. You think if he could levitate stones into place, he would have built it a little bit quicker and maybe done it a little bit bigger? You know what I'm saying? Like if you really had all this magical power. And I don't know if you've seen that guy on YouTube. I don't know his name. That is like moving entire buildings around. Have you seen that guy?
No.
I'm going to send you the video and you're going to be like, all right, this makes a little bit, again, being skeptical, a healthy dose of skepticism, not 100% like, oh no. I think people are able to create beautiful works of art and do extraordinary things when they put their minds to it. Back then, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have smartphones. They had a ton of slaves and a ton of time, right? And the people who were ruling over these other people, hey, bro, you got to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or else we're going to end you. You get what I'm saying? So to think the Atlanteans were the ones that, no. I think that the Egyptians built it, just not in the time frame that history tells us. You get what I'm saying? Sure,
yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's just the way they talk about everything is they speak about it as it's so exact, right? Like,
conspiracy theorists do the same thing too, though.
Exactly. Man, there's 2-kilometer underground network of, all this stuff and 5 identical structures, 8 deep wells, and you're thinking, well, this is amazing, right? Like they're speaking as if it's fact, which it may be a fact. It could be, but it's just going to remain speculation amongst a lot of other things. And I guess it bothers me that something like this would turn into another polar thing, because this may very well turn into like a flat earth discussion, because no one's going to go digging off of this stuff, right? So it may get that divided before it's all over with, is what I'm saying. And then in that case, we're going to get nowhere.
People are already jumping on the Nephilim technology bandwagon and all this other stuff. It's like, because they want it to be true so badly. Trust me, when I see something that sounds too good to be true, it usually is, right? It usually is. I'd be interested to see, and I know the guy has scanned other structures. I want to see it. Again, I haven't dug for this, but what I would like to see is other known structures and what's underneath them that are known and mapped out already, and this guy applying that technology to it and confirming his results and his data with the known data already. You get what I'm saying? So take a known structure with an underground tunnel system, or even a man-made one. It doesn't have to be a megalithic or ancient or historic place. A man-made Disney, for example. Disney has tons of tunnels underneath it, bro. It's got an entire network of tunnels. Scan that, and then we'll take the plans of the dude who designed it and compare them side by side to see what we get. If it matches up, I don't know, dude. We might have a lost ancient city underneath. I mean, if it's under, think about this. If there is a lost ancient city that is technically sunken because it is underwater, I mean, that's Atlantis, right? Does the stories of Atlantis, this city that sank, right? That sank under the water. And a lot of people are talking about this lost city under the pyramids. So it plays into this lore that we already have. I mean, I don't know about you, but whenever I see a title, Lost City Found in the Amazon Rainforest,
yeah,
I click, dude, that is so interesting to me. When the fact of a lost city, that is such an interesting concept to me, like abandoned places and things of that nature, but a lost city, El Dorado, right? Like these, you know, the city of X or whatever it is.
Right.
Those things, bro, I love that type of stuff. So to think that there's a lost city underneath the pyramids, hidden in plain sight, would be bananas. And the sheer size of those freaking rods or whatever they are, and it is 2 cubes. I just looked it up. It's two.
But there would be no way.
structures.
There would be no way there wasn't already something down there that led to it. Like something. I don't. And I apologize for any rumbling in my mic. It's just thunder or whatever. If you hear it,
hear it.
But like, I would think there would be if it was like what they're talking about, how it could be these ceremonial rooms or whatever. If it was that, then there has to be a secret door, or somebody would have found something by now that led down there, you know.
Well, I mean, if you look at I think it's the Osiris shaft or something, the bottom layer that's full of water with the coffin,
and the thing under the Sphinx too. But they were talking about, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at that, which if they did the pyramids, why didn't they do the Sphinx? I mean, if he showed the UFO underneath the Sphinx, bro, that's it. Game over. He'd have us all. Where's the Sphinx data? You know what I'm saying? Like everyone always, like Mr. Beast, bro, just did a video. I don't know if you saw it, where he was in Egypt, and Zahi Hawass or whatever his name is, the leader of antiquities there, opened up the side of the Sphinx, and he was like, "Go, Jimmy, go in there and tell everyone what's in there." And it's full of rock and stone, right? To kind of like tell people like there's nothing down there. Right? It's not a secret passageway anywhere. Maybe there is a secret passageway, but how would we know if I've never been there, and I don't think anyone else has accessed it that I know of? I mean, there's plenty of tunnels that are too dangerous to go into in the pyramids.
Well, and you know, a lot of people talk about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. They talk about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth as if it's a Hermetic Bible. And I try to tell people, all right, man, this is a channeled text in the early 1900s. I'm not taking away from it, but it is not
Thoth the Atlantean.
Yeah, it's not the Emerald Tablet.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the same thing, okay? Number one. And number two, in that text, he talks about there being a spaceship under the Sphinx. I put my spaceship and all this other stuff. There's a lot of crazy, really nuanced stuff in that text. And
that's Billy Carson right there, bro.
Yeah. And I told Billy one time, I called in on a show and I said, dude, you keep saying Isaac Newton did this, you know, rewrote this stuff. And I said, that's not the same tablet. And he was just like, oh, okay. And that was the end of that. But I think I don't know what happened after that, but that was a long time ago when I told him that. But
well, did you see the latest drama with him? Did you keep up with that?
No, man. I apologize, but I just work, and then whatever I think about at work, I come home and I talk about. I don't really get to look at anything anymore. You know what I mean? But no, what's he talking about now?
There was the debate debacle with him and the Bible scholar Wes Huff. Did you see that?
No, I'm gonna see it though now.
So yeah, check it out because that's a whole rabbit hole where allegedly he got cornered into this debate, this pseudo debate where he got completely demolished. Like and demolished in the fact that homeboy was able to pull up his information with receipts because he's a Bible scholar. Now, again, he's an apologist, so you got to keep that in mind.
Sure, yeah.
Where they're coming from. Again, there's nothing wrong with being an apologist and believing in Jesus Christ. I believe in Jesus Christ and, as my Lord and Savior and anything. But again, speaking of being skeptical and taking everything for face value, like it all happened the way they say it did, that's a whole, another show. But this guy debated Billy. And again, Billy got embarrassed because he got caught in some stuff that he was saying things and they pulled up clips of him saying it a bunch of other times. Oh, I just misspoke. Well, did you?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he said to me too. He's like, well, maybe I misspoke a little,
Those 7 other times on those video clips that we have of you, did you also want to speak there? So he got kind of called out and it was this whole drama where he did an interview where he was even crying, bro, because he's like, oh, they're attacking my family now. And it was this whole big thing.
I think I saw that.
Point being that it's very sensational, right? When it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And there's nothing wrong with speculating and coming up with ideas and thought because we don't know the full truth. You get what I'm saying? We don't know the whole thing. But how you're saying to speak it as the truth, that's what gets me. And that's what bothers me in particular when it comes to people spreading ideas. Like, no, you don't have it figured out. Neither do I. But don't push your concept like it is the one, again, like the Hermeticism, the sleepers. Let the sleeper sleep. Right. They will find their way and they will be awakened when their time comes. But some people are here, brother, preaching the conspiracies or the ideas and they're just pushing it on people and hammering it down their throats. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. But I stopped kind of worrying about, I think what it is some people, especially with the pyramid thing, like some people immediately started getting upset when others started talking about it. And it's almost like it's this idea that, because these people aren't telling the truth, that the dumb people are going to believe them. And I'm a real truth seeker, right? And it's like, listen, real truth seekers are truth seekers. That's all they care about. They don't care about Ferraris or, being on top or getting the bag or whatever. They're just truth seekers. Then there's people that care about that other stuff, but you could have it all if you want. My point is why I stopped fearing the dumb. And I think that's what we should do in the conspiracy world. I wanted to get into that later in the show, but other people start worrying, well, what if the dumb people, because that's what they're thinking, are going to believe that guy? No, you should believe me. That guy's getting a ton of credit and he's lying. It's like, well, what you just said, right? You just said, let the sleeper sleep. But it still pisses people off for some reason,
Yeah, I see that all the time too, where it's like, they took my idea, whatever. Ideas exist, right? If you tap into it or not. And to be honest, when you're in this niche crowd, there's only so many ideas, right? So it's bound to happen where you're going to overlap with other people's concepts and their interpretation of it. Do I get mad if people speak about the homunculus? Like, I was the one that discovered, like, no, I didn't create the concept. It's history.
Yeah.
It's in books. It's in stories. It's in historical, pieces of literature. It's in records and it's in all these places. If people are tapping into it and doing the research, hey, more power to them. Because how you said at the end of the day, it's about finding, I don't know if it's about quenching your own thirst for the truth, but at least dabbling and entertaining some sort of ideas, even if it is truth or not, because truth is subjective, right? And I don't know if we're going to truly have the truth. Like I said earlier, you're talking about the emerald tablets of Hermes, right? The ones that have the secrets of reality inscribed on them, not those the Atlantean, not those emerald tablets, but the ones that, inscribed, that have the secrets of reality inscribed on them, right? As above, so below. A lot of people.
Yeah, it's just one tablet. It's just one. Yeah,
it's one tablet.
Yeah, that's it.
I think of that. And also like the Philosopher's Stone, bro. The Philosopher's Stone is another one of those things where it's like, is that possible. I think to a certain extent it is. You should check out this show called Common Side Effects on HBO Max, which is about kind of not speaking about the Philosopher's Stone where it heals all. Make sure I say this correctly on YouTube. The Philosopher's Stone, the legend says that if you take it, you will be healed of all ailments. That's according to the lore of the Philosopher's Stone. In this show, Common Side Effects, it's a mushroom that grows, I believe, somewhere in South America.
Is this what you got demonetized for talking about telling people to eat mushrooms?
No, I got demonetized for allegedly. I can't say it because, but it was praising organizations that do very bad things. Starts with a T. So that's what I got pinged for.
Huh.
I was praising those organizations. I don't know how, but
what?
yeah, permanently demonetized, by the way. It's not even like I can apply again. It's that specific rule break YouTube told me 100% kicked out the door. So
Lordy, man.
Yeah. No, I know where the line is. I know how to tread on the line. I know how to go above, but again, the archons, sometimes they'll throw a wrench into the mix where when you think you got it all figured out, I'm gonna tell you what, you ain't got it figured out, right? Because these algorithmic daemons, bro, they're always watching, and that's how I tell people. People always complain about self-censoring. It's not the fact that I don't want to self-censor. The thing is that if you're on a platform where everyone is, which is the mainstream platform, where everyone watches, where everyone is always present, you want to be there. But guess what? That platform wants to take you off of it no matter what. So they're going to find any little thing to try and take you off of it, including coming up with these weird things that you can't fight, because when you try to talk to these organizations, you're probably talking to an AI and you're never going to talk to a real person ever. So you feel kind of helpless because it sucks. Time, energy that you put into it to build something up, for it to be gone because some algorithm picked up on something or interpreted it the way that they wanted to interpret it. And that's it. And you can't fight it. You're done. I've already tried appealing it 5 times. All 5 times, denied. So what am I supposed to do? You got
how do people support you through Patreon now? Is it?
Yeah, through Patreon is the only way you can really support. I guess listening to it on the RSS feed. But people complain about the ads, but it's like, what can you do?
Yeah, right.
If I was in it for the money, I would have quit a long time ago. And you know that, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, too, like, you don't want to, I can tell you for sure, like, most people I know do 4 shows a week, and they get taken advantage of on lots of different aspects of things. I won't go into it because it sounds like whining, all right? But if you really start to, like, put yourself out there and put content and stuff year after year after year, and people are like, oh, you should do it for free, you'll be like, okay, I'll just, like, if you think what I'm doing is worth nothing, okay, then I will put out pretty close to nothing.
I mean, it's out there for free, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it's free if you want to support it, man. Like, I think people should support you. You haven't, like, you're a real truth seeker. There's a difference, man. I've got friends that I know I've got a few friends that I know are real truth seekers. They're not trying to swell up their ego. They're not trying to build massive audiences or become the next Joe Rogan. I'm sure some of them would love that if that happened, but they will not stop the truth thing. It's like they won't sell yourself out. Now, you can't stop the self-censoring, though. The only way that, like, I have to watch out what I say even, right? Because I don't have time to mess with the radio station anymore, and nobody listens to it anymore. Do you know why? Because everybody's on YouTube. So if you don't want people to self-censor, then stop watching YouTube.
And so you have Rumble, nobody watches. You have Odyssey, nobody watches on Odyssey.
It's like they've taken over.
That one person is not going to make a difference. So we go where the people are at. It's the smartest idea. It's the next frontier for podcast. That's the way it is. That's the way it's going to continue to be, because YouTube is a behemoth. And until further notice, that's where the people are at, bro. So I 100% agree with you. And even if I promise you, I won't be doing 4 shows a week. I can't even imagine. That's why I admired you, bro.
I used to do 5.
Bro, 1 show a day. People don't understand how gnarly that is, right? And then doing a lot of them solo to sit in front of people and talk for an hour and a half to 2 hours by yourself. Do you know how hard that is? You go, no, it's difficult. So people who are able to do it, my hat's off to you. And for a long time, Joe, and I still look up to you, bro, because you still do it. I was like, how is this dude able to sit 5 days a week?
It ain't 5 anymore. I've pushed it back to 3 now. And I'm
even
debating on doing it even more. You know, like eventually the energy has to balance out, right? What you put in, you get stuff back. Not only that, Greg told me this too. Greg Carlwood, when I was in Mount Shasta, we were in the van. He was sitting next to me, and he said the same thing you said to me. He was like, "That's cool and all," but he was like, "Imagine the quality of show you could do if you only did 1 show a week, where you could focus all that energy into 1 show." And then I said, yeah, but I've got all these people that emotionally lean on my voice every night. Some people that it actually puts them to sleep. You know,
I rub my nipples while I'm listening to you at night, Joe.
And then if I leave those people, they're going to hate me. And I'm thinking, he made some other points that I won't say, but you know, he said, "Do you think they're going to sleep? You know, thinking about you?" And I was like, "That's a good point. They're not. You know." So you got to, like Cat Williams says, man, you got to take care of your star player, dude. Yeah, for sure.
No, you got to take care of yourself before. You know, like I've always put stuff up. I've put stuff out for the last 6 years now. You know, there's a whole backlog of stuff and hours out there. So I've been doing this for a long time, so I know how the game goes. And so
you remember the first time you came on my show, dude?
I was on episode 42 of my show, and I'm on episode 252. So
yeah. I told you were gonna go, and I said that this dude's he's gonna go up, man. You know, and it's because people enjoy authenticity. When I hear you talk about alchemy, I hear here's the thing. Here's the difference. There are tons of videos that talk about alchemy, the 7 stages of alchemy, what they mean. They put up really pretty presentations, and they talk about alchemy, right? When you talk about alchemy, you're digging, dude. And this is what I've always admired about you. Facts, names, people. You know, people say, oh, this homunculus thing. When you first started talking about it, a lot of people giggled, didn't they? Right? Yeah. They would giggle a little bit. But even the books that I read, and I'm a practicing magician, even books that I read, I passed up the homunculus stuff. And I was like, how did my brain not even see this? Right. And I heard you on the Higher Side Chats the other day talking about it. Today talking about it too. Even more information that I didn't know before.
Well, now, think about it, Joe.
That's epic, dude. For real.
Think about this. This is what I tell people. It goes so deep. And whenever I talk about it, a lot of people go, it's not interesting. Stop talking about it. Like, you know, I get all sorts of comments. I did a video with Mind Unveiled that is 10 hours long, I think 10 and a half hours, something like that, on the straight homunculus, bro. He put together a whole documentary. I was there as a consultant, I guess. It took him 6 months to put this video together. It was a 300 something page script that he had all about the homunculus. So when you truly start looking into it, I think that the 21st century, 2025, has more evidence for homunculus than any other time, than any other era in history. Why? Because you can look up cloning. You can look up sheep being created in artificial matrices, being grown in labs, synthetic embryos being grown in labs. Mm-hmm. This is all science of the 21st century. Now, just apply that to the history books. Maybe for 1 second, one of these alchemists was able to replicate the conditions right enough to create one of these things. Who knows? Were you there? No, I wasn't there either, so I don't know. But, or not even that. Maybe they had the concept down of cloning people or cloning animals or cloning whatever. Test tube babies to a certain extent is this, right? alchemists paved the way for science as we know it, chemistry, physics, everything as we know it today, because they were trying to understand reality the way that they saw it for their time. And because of their ideas, we have a lot of things today. The father of toxicology, the father of the homunculus, Paracelsus, we have anesthesia because of him.
Right.
Right. We have a whole bunch of operational procedures that they still do that he invented till this day. And he was in the 16th century, bro. So to throw out the baby with the bathwater, it sounds crazy when when Carlwood was reading to me some of the excerpts of the grimoire. I was like, bro, that sounds wild. Like, I know how it sounds. It sounds crazy. It sounds bananas.
Some of these guys were crazy, man. If you really read their material, they're it's almost like they're losing it.
Well, I think part of it was sitting in front of a furnace and inhaling these toxic fumes for hours upon end, trying to create the Philosopher's Stone, right? This magnum opus that would drive you insane, bro. Think about. Have you ever just stared into an open flame, bro, and it kind of hypnotizes you?
Yeah.
You kind of start to see things in it, and it starts to kind of almost like it's sentient, almost like it has some sort of consciousness or something. And people have talked about this before, where fire could have some sort of conscious, right? Think about that.
It does. Do that. In my opinion, it does, but I'm not going to push that on people, right? So
do that for 12 hours a day, bro. It would drive you insane.
I do it for 15 to 20 minutes a day, actually, every day. And I
They're
think
into a flame?
Yeah, I think all of the elements. Yeah, I do ceremony every single day, just like I brush my teeth. And I have come to believe that there's different stages to the elements, the 4 elements, right? And
100%.
And that they're conscious, all of them, not just water. You hear people talking about water's conscious. No, it's fire is conscious, water's conscious, air is conscious. It's all conscious. It's all consciousness, anyways. But that gets into the whole elementals, and if I start going down that road, people are going to think I'm crazy. So there's certain things I'd rather just not talk about, right, and keep to myself. Yeah. But with hearing what you talk about with alchemy, I feel like I have more room to discuss certain things like that, right? Like the wildest idea of alchemy used to be the Philosopher's Stone before we really started digging into the homunculus. So there's the Philosopher's Stone, the homunculus. Why can I not say homunculus, man? And then there's the idea that we're going to extend our life longer so that we can do the great work so that we don't lose our consciousness of the second body. Now, is there a wilder idea to alchemy than these 3? Is there anything wilder than that, do you think?
Oh, dude, I mean, there's the Rebus. I mean, you got stories of Fulcanelli appearing, right? They go through this metamorphosis where they take, again, the elixir of life or the Philosopher's Stone, whichever. I mean, maybe they grounded up the Philosopher's Stone and just put it into like a little drink and drank it. But they talk about their nails falling off, regrowing, their hair falling out and regrowing, taking on more of feminine appearance. Like they go through a metamorphosis in order to become this androgynous being. Alchemy is the utility knife of the occult, where I think the extension of life, of the want to extend your life, has been around for a long time, since the beginning of time. It's not just alchemy, right? I think vampires, if you think about a vampire, right? They live forever and all this other stuff as long as they stay out of the sun and blah, blah, blah. All these concepts. The idea of having immortality goes far, way far back. The only thing about alchemy is that it's got a place in history. Rudolph II had an entire court of alchemists working for him at all hours of the day and trying to turn base metals into gold, and probably trying to find the elixir of life or the Philosopher's Stone. So you had royalty. John Dee was also an avid alchemist. A whole bunch of people, right? The whole Rudolph II circle, all those guys were deep into this sort of stuff. The concept, to take from all this, royalty, the people who are at the top of the food chain according to society, have an interest in this or had an interest. And I believe they still do, because if you look at what's that one guy who's taking the plasma from his kid and pumping it into his body to try and live forever? You know who I'm talking about. He looks like a freaking zombie. You seen that guy?
No.
There's a billionaire who is trying, I don't know if he's a billionaire, a millionaire at least, who is trying to extend his life. And he's
using his kid's plasma?
Bro, he calls his son something really like plasma baby or something. He calls him something really weird. Look it up. You'll find, I don't know the guy's name, but I'm sure people know what I'm talking about. There's a guy who's trying to live forever. You had old Jeffrey. We know who Jeffrey is. Old Jeffrey trying to seed, I'm going to pause here, a perfect race, right? In New Mexico. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like that whole thing.
Chaining him up and stuff. Like he was.
Again.
Yeah. Whatever,
They're into this sort of thinking. And I think it stems again from the occult, from antiquity, from alchemy, from all these other concepts put together. And then they evolve. You had Crowley writing about the homunculus. You had Parsons he wrote a letter to Crowley like, hey, I made a homunculus. And Crowley wrote back like, are you stupid? Why would you try and do this? Like when he was at the parsonage, he was pissed off at Parsons for actually trying to create a homunculus. Crowley. Now, if Crowley was a secret agent or not, who knows?
That's saying a lot if Crowley got mad about something,
Again, that's the thing, Joe. Like, how do you convince somebody, Joe, who is a ceremonial magician, who knows about this, who's been in this for a very long time? How do you convince somebody that the occult and the esoteric and magic is real? You can't.
I've been trying forever, and I've given up. I don't.
You can't. So the conspiracy is magic a thing? Is it real? Does it work? For some people, depends on who you ask, it does work. For other people, it's fairy tale. And you can take all of reality into this perspective.
But you watch those people that call it a fairy tale. You watch what they do unconsciously and how they're creating their realities, like right in front of your face. And, that's what's frustrating to me. It's like, but you don't see the ritual that you're doing every day. It's one thing that your consciousness is like the laser pointer that's focused on whatever you're hearing or seeing, but your unconscious is taking in everything else, and the only way you're going to speak to the spirit world is learning how to speak to the unconscious. That's it. Learning how to communicate with it.
Or the Philosopher's Stone. There's a legend that says if you take some of the Philosopher's Stone, you could talk to the angels.
But I've also like the guy that initiated me is arguing with another guy that led another Hermetic society. I've seen these guys argue about what the Philosopher's Stone actually is. One says I'm in possession of it. Another person saying you can't be in possession of it, because these are supposedly adepts. And yet and this is what I've been trying to tell people, like there is some basic magic you can learn, but once you become an adept and you really start thinking for yourself and you really get past all the magic stuff, you have to start figuring stuff out, the greater mysteries, and they still don't have the answers to this. See, there's this idea that someone out there has all the answers to the great mysteries and they're lying to us. And I'm trying to tell people, as long as they're a human, they don't. Right? Like some might be closer. They might have theories. That's why I respect Thomas Campbell's theory of the greater consciousness system. And he flat out tells you it's a theory. As much as he's tested the OBE stuff and tested his theory and proven it to be real, he still will not tell people it's a fact, because he believes in science. He believes in that method. You have to prove a fact based on enough evidence to overcome a control group or whatever, or a variant, right?
I think Monroe also didn't like push it upon people.
No,
he wrote about it, but he was pretty open.
So there's nothing more. And I think what happens is a lot of these magicians, even the ones that you read about in alchemy and grimoires and stuff, once they realize alchemy's real and magic's real, it's like some kind of ego inflation happens, and then they start getting weird. Some of them, they start trying to create. And I didn't even look at this until you started kind of showing me all this. I'm like, wait, why? I thought this was about consciousness. I thought this was about love and, trying to extend your life so you can increase your consciousness. But then you pick up other books and they're like, oh, we're going to create a homunculus and we're going to try to do. It's like, what? Why are you trying to create little people? That's weird. Why are you trying to? It's just weird, man.
It's funny because in that show, Common Side Effects, there are. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Just watch it. You'll.
I'm going to watch it. Yeah, for sure.
Start to see things.
For sure, man.
Again, but this whole concept of, I've always compared it to the Force, right? The Jedi use it for good, the Sith use it for evil, but they're tapping into the same thing, right? This thing that's on the outside of reality, and they're able to harness it again because they have certain. How do I say this without saying they're part of certain bloodlines, right? They have the G word. And so they're able to tap into it better than others. They're able to feel it and other people aren't. And so when, if you compare this to being an occultist, when you're an adept, you're able to sort of tap into that stream or flow or whatever it is and manipulate it or not. Again, I'm not an occultist to that extent. I do more, I'm going to call it troll magic. I do things like, if I make a flyer, 33 font, right? Or 666 points to, like that sort of stupid stuff. And I put it into my work. If it actually does work or not, I don't know. I'd like to think it does because certain things that I apply those methods to do better than things that I don't. You get what I'm saying? So you kind of test it out. You have the control factor there. Like here, I'm going to apply some mimetic magic to this meme here, see how it does versus this other one that I didn't. The one that I applied those principles to does a lot better than the one that I didn't. Now, is that my mind making that up and kind of sort of forcing the hand of reality? I don't know.
I don't think so.
But
I think
it's a coincidence.
No, I think it's real.
Hey.
Anytime a movie, a cartoon, a song, any creation, art, music, TV, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. If you glorify an ancient truth, an ancient God, an alchemical system, anything that's occult, if you glorify it in whatever creation that you're doing, even if it's a number, like 369 creation or whatever, there's something about that helps it along to become successful. And I don't know why, but it just does. You can see it in everything that has occult connotations. And the more they line up and the more they glorify the concept, the more popular it becomes. And a lot of people think, well, that's evil. There's some dark thing trying to manipulate you. Maybe, or just bear with me, it could just be that you're tapping into a deeper truth that you've forgotten. And when you glorify these truths, they tend to create a lot easier and faster,
This past weekend I bought my sons their first 4-wheelers, right?
Right on.
Little 50cc Yamahas, right? And we bought it from some guy. They're older, 2003, 2005. And one of them, they already broke it, right? They probably blew a seal out or something, And me and my dad tried to fix it the whole day. Right? We were there Saturday from the afternoon all the way to like 11 o'clock. And I trying to figure this damn thing out. We couldn't get it to crank. We still haven't gotten it to crank. And that night, I had a dream that I fixed the 4-wheeler in my dream. And I when I woke up, I told my wife, I'm like, I got the 4-wheeler to work. She's like, oh, you guys got it to work? I was like, no. In my dream, it turned on in my dream, but I don't remember what I did to fix it in the dream. Because what I was gonna do was what I did in the dream. I was gonna go to the reel and try it in the reel.
But do you remember what it was? No,
I can't remember what it was, bro. Can't remember what it was. But I ordered the replacement part, so hopefully we'll see if it works. Maybe I had a dream after I got the replacement part and I fixed it.
Well, yeah, or it just could have been on your mind. It could have been a stress factor for you, right? It could have, or your higher self could have been telling you something. But
yeah,
a lot of time when you say occultist or alchemist, right? People picture like these mad scientists, and I think that you've helped that along in a good way. Like you're making me wonder, where are all these alchemical labs? Where are they, and where do people think they are? For example, I talk about the structure of the Pentagon all the time. I bring that up to make a point, right? So the Pentagon itself is the shape of Gabora, right? It's the shape of a pentagram inside it, but a pentagon, which corresponds on the tree of life with Gabora. Gabora is the Sephirah of war. It's the Sephirah of action. It is all of the warlike energy. It's the Martian energy. So if I was going to create a great war machine, I would build a building in that geometric design that corresponds with that sphere on the tree of life. And so did it help, you think? Well, I don't know who's the greatest military in the world right now, right? Like, so far, it's the United States. At least that's what everybody thinks.
Yeah, with their Pentagon, yeah.
Yeah, right. And even when the two planes, they destroyed the towers, and we don't have to get into that conspiracy, but what happened when it hit the Pentagon building? Didn't do so well. And so magicians, in my opinion, have been doing things since the beginning of time. And I don't look at it as an evil thing, right? Like, if I was a Freemason and someone said, hey, build me, I'll give you another example, okay? In Benton, Arkansas, there's a park, and you guys can look this up on Google Maps. If you go to Benton, Arkansas, there's a park called Tyndall Park. Okay?
Oh, my dad lives in Tyndall Acres. That's great.
Tyndall Park. There is a pentagon there that I know for a fact, because I see that pentagon, I know that at the very least a Freemason helped build it. And in that shape, he actually, if you look at it from above, you wouldn't see it in the parking lot, but from above, it's a pentagon. And that park is still a place where people go to play, and they go to be with their families, they jog around it, things like that. So is it really evil if a guy goes out there and says, this is going to be a place for, family and friends and stuff like that? I'm going to put this out here to protect it, and no one's going to know the difference.
I don't think that all Masons are evil. I think that, again, back again to this concept of some use it for good, others for not so good, right?
Sure.
And even that is up for interpretation. What is good? What is evil? And I think that this is part of, right, angels, maybe certain angles attract certain sort of angels. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was, I forget the guy's name who was working with, it was a count or something with John D. And the reason that he told him to go to Prague was because, the sigillum of Amet. Right?
The sigillum of Amet, yeah.
Yeah. When they were using this for their Enochian magic, where they had all their magical furniture and things of that nature to try and contact the other side, one of the guys told them, hey, I know where there's a big one of those. And I'm talking about like the size of, a town. It's in Prague, right? And that's allegedly why he went to Prague, because the layout of the land was in this sort of geometric form. And it's like, hey, imagine if we can tap into these entities on the other side, these beings on the other side, using this little table with a wax engraving of the sigil. What would happen? Again, Full Metal Alchemist. You ever seen Full Metal Alchemist, where the entire map is laid out in the shape of the transmutation circle, right? In order to do what? Again, to do the great work, the magnum opus. So if you take that concept and apply it to Washington, D.C. and all these other places that have concentrated power, that what does a Mason do? A Mason builds. Now, again, there's Freemasons, but
there's operative and speculative. Yeah,
exactly. So it's all behind the work. And I think that Freemasonry, the way I've been led to interpret, is that they are doing alchemy, except they've removed the lab work out of the equation.
Yeah, it's a hidden. They hid it. So whoever designed Freemasonry purposefully hid things behind the rituals so that you would keep seeking. They also made it to where if you didn't want to seek, you didn't have to. But if you did, you would keep finding deeper meanings and deeper secrets. That's the thing. Like it was harmless to do it that way. It's not going to harm somebody if they don't go further, but if they want to, they can. And but Freemasonry, in my opinion, has more to do with uniting the symbolism behind all religions, right? And more about philosophy. But what I think that we're getting into is a more advanced thing where you were talking about angles and things like that, a technology that I've heard you discuss before that we're beginning to understand, but we haven't really tapped into it. There's only one guy that I think has tapped into it, and his name's Dr. Ibrahim Karim. And he talks about this biogeometry thing where you could literally change the frequencies of entire cities, the air quality, everything, just everything about that city, the EMFs, everything, just by changing the geometry of the buildings. And it's almost like feng shui, but it works on every level. Right.
Oh, 100%, dude.
So
yeah,
once you understand that, then you can say, okay, then metaphysics are real. I can't touch, smell, see, hear, or taste any of that, what he's talking about. Yeah, it's changing everything. So then Aristotle was right. The metaphysical universe is a very real thing. And then once we get to that level, then we could take an entirely new look at the occult. But until then, until we understand that, like right now, it's just a big scary thing for everybody. And rightly so. I mean, if people are making homunculuses, I would be scared too. These people are making Frankensteins, man.
Yeah, I recently did an episode with Thomas, Paranoid American, where it was an account from 1985. A dude writing about an associate of Israel regarding in Utah. He had created a homunculus. Now, again, he couldn't get his camera to focus on it, right, to take a picture. And when he did, right, he couldn't get a picture of it, which, whatever. But according to him, according to Mark Stavish, he had to do an exorcism on the guy because he was being haunted by some spirit, which they speculated might have been because of his homunculus research that he was doing, and the homunculus that he ended up having that ended up dying in the lab because he couldn't keep it alive. Now that kind of goes against the whole homunculus lore because homunculus are just vessels and they don't have souls, or do they? Right? I mean, are they? Where do they fall in the equation of God? Did God, if God, the way that they got around this back then, right, doing Christian magic or natural magic, if God put the cheat codes in reality for you to be able to cheat reality, then why would you be punished for that? Right? As long as you're not using outside influences, using demonic influences or astral influences or demonic influences to aid you in your work, then it's free game. God put that tree with that stone, and when I put it together, it makes a certain kind of liquid or whatever it is. Why would God punish me for exposing that? Right? You know, the physician is the magician, and they are de-occulting the occulted natures of reality, and that's what alchemy is.
Yeah,
they're de-occulting and peeling back the layer of reality to unveil this underbelly of it, and then they're able to rearrange the guts of reality, put it back together, and make a greater change in reality. And that's the magnum opus, depending on who you ask.
Didn't we talk about this before? Like they're trying to do it back. You and I talked about this before. Like they're trying to go backwards. You know.
I'm talking about. No, that is the Typhonian OTO Kenneth Grant.
Gotcha. Okay, never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, he was speaking about the magical lycanthrope, where the reason that these occultists who are trying to cross the abyss, the reason that they go crazy is because they're trying to it's access through the tree, and they're trying to go into this dimension where time goes backwards, but they have to stop it right before what they call an antediluvian mind or consciousness, right? This, again, Nephilim or whatever it is. But sometimes they go too far back and they assume this larval state of life, and then they are casted into the abyss where they go insane, right? So again, what does that all mean? It sounds very veiled. I don't know, but he put a little footnote, and then at the very bottom, can account for the magical lycanthrope of history, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the hell does this even mean? You know, like, what are you talking about, bro? You can't just put that in there. But Kenneth Grant does that. He'll put stuff in to kind of if you're trying to speed read Kenneth Grant, he puts all these blocks in his work that make you trip and fall on your face as you're trying to speed read his work. So he makes it to where you go, boom, boom, boom. I fell, 3 pages down. What the hell what hit me? And then you have to go back. What the hell does that mean? And then you stop there for the night because your mind can't comprehend. Right. And people have told me reading Kenneth Grant's work is dangerous.
And I do. Look, listen, I've told people this time and time again, there are parts of magic and alchemy that are dangerous.
100%.
Look, if God made us in his image, and I saw this in a video, it's a perfect thing, right, that I heard the other day. So imagine you're the baseball glove and God is the hand, right? So the glove is made in God's image, but the glove doesn't work without the hand in it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how God works through us. So he created the image, the glove, us, to work through us, to live in us and work through us. So it's only natural when we tap into mysteries that we want to impress daddy, right? So we want to start trying to create images of ourselves. But what the whole purpose is, and the reason why we should listen to our dads, is because there's a whole other thing that's going on there, right? Like, there's a whole alchemical process that's actually trying to happen, that the universe is trying to create a whole different life form that doesn't lose its consciousness. It's all conspiring to do it. And this is why I think in a lot of texts it was like, don't tell them the mysteries of this stuff yet, because they're not ready for it yet. Don't tell them about astrology. Don't tell them about the plants and the metals and stuff, because they're going to go out and just lose it. It's just like telling a kid about, bourbon whiskey that's 3 years old, right? Like, let them get to a certain place. Let it unfold naturally, that kind of thing. And so when I read things like Kenneth Grant and some other occultist and things that you've showed me, it makes me think, well, yeah, their mind picked up on this stuff. They got intellectually stimulated. Their ego got big. And so they decided, well, I understand the astral and I understand the physical and the energy and how it all works. So I'm just going to start creating stuff, or I'm going to cross the abyss.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with the plan. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. Yeah.
It's weird. It gets weird. It's entertaining though, but it is dangerous if you ask me,
Oh, it's super interesting, bro, once you start really, getting into that sort of stuff. And that's what captured my imagination when it came to this whole thing, because the first place I read it was Manly P. Hall, bro. Manly P. Hall knew about he wrote about the homunculus. He wrote about von Kufstein and his workings in a Masonic lodge to create 10 homunculus. And he still has the world record for the largest homunculus right now. So Manly P. Hall introduced me to this concept. And then when I read it, I thought he was trolling. I was like, what the hell is this story? What is this? And then there's not a lot of information out there. So when I Googled it, I was like, I didn't come up with anything, because the story is in a German book from the late 1800s, right? It's called the Sphinx something or other. You have to translate it, right? Which we did for the Mind Unveiled work, right? We had to translate the whole excerpt to get the full story, right? And what actually went down. And he was parading around this entire town with these homunculus and showing them off and doing like expositions with them. Again, he said they had there was notable people there. I can't think of them, but there was notable people there who saw these things. It was more than one person. And this is in the 18th, 17th century. So it's very, very interesting. But when I first read it, it's like how you said, I think a lot of this occult stuff blows your mind on purpose. And there was this book that I read, one of the pupils of Eugene Consoliate, which Eugene Consoliate was a pupil of Fulcanelli, allegedly. And his pupil, Eugene Consoliate's pupil, he wrote this book, and they were trying to figure out the identity of Fulcanelli. It is a book that's translated from French to English. And he goes through various theories of who it could be. And it's interesting that the first record ever of the name Fulcanelli comes from the wife of the guy who sculpted the Statue of Liberty.
Really?
Yes. The Bartholdi family. His wife is the first person and the first record ever of the name Fulcanelli. And then their family, the family that he was a part of, presented it to the United States. What does that mean? Allegedly, they were part of a secret society of some sort. Now, you can use your imagination as to what that could possibly mean, but it is one of the most iconic monuments in the United States, right? That a lot of people have seen, a lot of people know. But that's besides the point. But in this book, he says that the occult, whenever you're peering into it, it's ever changing. It's constantly morphing. And I've experienced that. When you think you have a concept down to a T, it starts to change I've had it change real time. Now I just blame Mandela. Whenever I don't remember something correctly, Mandela effect, just like I just throw it out there, just like, old Billy Carson, he forgot a couple. Mandela effect, dude. They changed it real time for him.
That's 100%. You've studied the Tree of Life a little bit though, right?
Dude, the tree, when it comes to Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, that is one of the things that I've struggled with. And I'll be honest with you, I struggled with alchemy for a very long time. And I would pick it up and I'd put it down. I'd pick it up and I'd put it down. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, what is, like, I want to learn what this is. And then I've taken courses from Adam McLean, who I bought all his books, and he has a course on how to interpret alchemical symbols. Now,
yeah, well, alchemy is very complicated at first, for sure.
He is one of the top tier people in this, and he actually declined to come on my show one time because of the way I speak about alchemy.
Really?
Because the way that he interprets it, I wouldn't say it's very matter of fact, but there's a certain way to do it. Now, mind you, this is a 18 book course, something like that. I got all the books somewhere, or lessons. It's broken down, and you're supposed to do one a day, and I did it. And it's difficult to explain, but the way that he does it is every single alchemical plate. You can't take individual alchemical plates and interpret them by themselves. If a plate is part of a sequence, you need to interpret that sequence together. You can't break it down. And he's got its own way of interpreting the things that are in there. But the way that he interprets alchemy is very different. And I would say that my way of interpreting alchemy is very fantastical and larger than usual. But again, I'm taking.
He's treating it like a science, probably more than likely. Yeah.
When you've put enough time as him, and what he does is he paints a lot of these plates, right? So he's taking his time. I think he has a different respect for it than I do, and he sees it from a different perspective, and that's why he declined to come on my show. He told me, he's like, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. So, and this is one of the heavy hitters of alchemy that I would have loved to talk about alchemy with, and he said no. And again, I've had that happen a few times, even with scholars, like actual academics in alchemy, who have declined because they check my stuff out.
Why do you think that is? I mean, if you had to be real, like be super real with me here, why?
Well, the conspiracy would be, right? They don't want to be the conspiracy would be, they don't want you to know the truth, right? And maybe the way I speak about it goes a little bit above and beyond the box or the cube that they have it in. Right. And maybe they want to preserve their self-image in their academic realm, and to be associated with, a guy like me talking about all this mumbo jumbo, maybe doesn't fit into their criteria of what's appropriate. You know how academics are. They got a stick shoved up their ass, right? So they can't they're kind of being puppeted around. They can't let loose a lot of the times. But again, that's what I love about being an independent agent, where I can say any crazy thing that I want, and it doesn't matter because it's who am I? I'm nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just a dude on the internet talking about homunculus.
Well, I understand. Like when you really get into magic and the occult, and I'm not playing when I say 90% of the shit that people are talking about it's bullshit. And on some level, they throw bullshit in there.
100%.
And it's like, okay, well, that's 90% of the context about it, 90% of the content, and 90% of the creators. So it's frustrating. I do not think you're one of those people, man. Like
I don't think so either.
I've seen you go at conspiracy people for some of the crazy things that they do, and I got to take a little break here, and then we'll finish out the show. But I wanted to end the show with a discussion on that, like where are we going with truth seeking? Okay, because back in the day we used to hear this word, truth seeker. I'm just a truth seeker. You don't hear that word. It's almost like now you hear conspiracy theorist. Like that word has been marketed and programmed even into the truth seekers now. So if you even talk about truth seeking, you're labeled a conspiracy theorist now, right? Mm-hmm. But before I dive deep into that, I want to take a little break here. Guys, make sure if you've never listened to Juan's podcast, which I'm sure pretty much everybody on this show listens to Juan's podcast, but if you haven't, you need to add that to your RSS feed. And also give them a follow. We'll take a short break, maybe 3-4 minutes here. So grab a drink. We'll be right back. And we'll get into the world of conspiracy with Juan Ayala. Stay with us.
Down
Welcome back to Lighting the Void here live on YouTube. We're here with Juan Ayala from the 101 podcast. Big shout out to Craig for the $50 Canadian super chat. Thank you, brother. All the support, all the love is good, man. I really appreciate that, brother. Not only that, he just subscribed to the channel too, so thank you so much, bro, for your support. It means the world. Juan Ayala's here with us. I feel like Juan is a brother from another mother. And not only that, when I heard you on, it was so good to hear you on the Higher Side chats, man. That's one of those moments where you get a little lump in your throat and a little teardrop comes out to the right because you're like, dude, my boys are doing good stuff, man. They're doing good stuff. You know, and he brought up video games. He brought up the occult. He brought up conspiracy. He brought up the homunculus. And I don't think Greg even still got to talk about all the stuff that he wanted to talk about with you. So it was a very interesting conversation. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, one of the bigger reasons why is because I think where you're taking truth seeking and the conspiracy world is a healthy place, right? Versus like, and I could be wrong, I need your feedback here, versus where other people, I won't name any names, but I feel like it's conspiratainment, you know? So I've always been of the nature where like whatever we do, we should be spreading the love, helping ourselves and helping others. By spreading truth, we're doing that, right? Entertainment is love too, though, don't get me wrong. It definitely is. But what are your thoughts on that, man? Do you think it's going to get better or worse? Because I see guys like, man, I saw the number of 389 and a cloud took a left and the train went that way and it means Jesus is coming back. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? You know, or another one, it's like, look at all the emojis that there's Solomon's thing because they look like Solomon. It's like,
that one's interesting though.
It is interesting, but it's still bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, so it's fun to talk about, but these people are like not saying it. They're not even saying could be bullshit. And that's something I hear you say a lot. Look, I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because again, a lot of it is conspiratainment. It's conspiracult. I think that the occult, how I mentioned earlier, I think the occult, magic, and alchemy and all is a conspiracy. Like I said, we have all these writings. Does it work? Tell me if it works or not. Yes or no. You know, that's the whole thing behind it. And I think that what's happening nowadays, it's a lot of, we live in an age where attention is a valuable commodity. And whenever you have these platforms, these social media platforms, they need your attention in order to grow. So they're going to put out, look at the next big ritual, right? So-and-so just died and their name in gematria lines up with donkey dicks or whatever, you know, whatever thing they make up to, it's all a ritual, but they can't tell you what the ritual's for. They can't tell you, you know, who's conducting, they are doing, who's they? Well, you know, in the conspiracy realm, it's the ones above, right? The board in Severance, which you should check that show out too. The board, right? This omnipotent interdimensional thing that exists above reality, and they're pulling the strings here. Why do they put all this stuff out? Because of their karmic retribution. They need to show you this stuff because it's the revelation of method. So they always have an Uno card, right? An Uno reverse card whenever it comes to explaining these conspiracies, which is fine. My problem is, and one of the reasons why I stopped making short videos, which I had some that had millions of views, I stopped making them because there are people who are legitimately sick because of the internet and people who actually have real issues mentally. And by me presenting these things that I'm presenting, I'm not helping those people. I'm further pushing them into their delusions and their chaotic state of mind. And if I'm going to be preaching about this sort of thing of, and again, this goes against what I'm talking about pushing my own ideology, but I'm not, I'm just speaking about it. You know, if I'm going to be preaching about this sort of stuff, about not presenting these crazy, you know, clickbait, everything's a ritual sort of thing. how can I preach about that and talk about that when I'm doing it myself? Right. And that's why I focused a lot on, if you notice my shorts, they kind of went through an evolution where it was a lot of the occult. Then I started getting into more mystery sort of thing. But even that leads you to a sort of place where it puts you in the same state of mind of questioning reality, questioning. And it's okay to question your reality. I think we all do at one point in time. I mean, that's what religion is for. You know, it gives people a sort of foundational base. But there are some people who are, Joe, who are truly lost and are truly sick. And by us indulging in these crazy conspiracies, we're not helping those people, right? And I don't feel good by contributing to that person's psychosis or whatever. Even if it is self-induced, because a lot of it is self-induced when it comes to a lot of these, because I've been there, right? I've been in the where you have to step away and go, you know, what the hell is all this for? You know, you start neglecting your family, you start neglecting your work, you start neglecting other things to read a fucking book about some alchemist trying to create a homunculus somewhere. You get what I'm saying? Like it what does it serve you? Nothing. So sometimes you got to step back, and I've had to kind of pull my head out of the abyss, if you will, because if you stay there, you know, when you stare into the abyss will start to stare back. And some people they stay staring at it. And I don't want to be a reason to keep contributing to that person's state of mind. And a lot of people are sick in this sort of delusion. And I think they find comfort in the conspiracies and the crazier ones, right? Are reptilians real? Or homunculus real? Or whatever, or the Enochian entities real? I don't know. Right. But some people, they want to believe so hard, Joe. They want it to be true so badly. And they're just constantly just looking for that. And the way that some people interact online, if they are real people or not, is not normal. You get what I'm saying? Like you can tell someone is not okay. And I've decided not to feed into that, but I do, because again, I'm talking about things that feed into it, right?
You still have fun with it though, man. Like you have fun in a healthy way with it, if you ask me.
I try. I try.
Yeah. Big shout out to Howard too for the 500 Norwegian krone. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate the support. Damn. Craig and Howard, thank you guys so much. So
somebody said it right. Howard said it. Truth seeking is the unbiased version of conspiracy theories, or meant to be. Yeah, I agree with that. You're supposed to be unbiased. My problem is when people come out and they get angry at you for not believing or talking about their conspiracy.
There you go. That's what I wanted to bring up. The content that we put out nowadays, it's almost like if I don't validate exactly what you believe all the time, even if it's crazy, you're out. You're gone. And that's fine. It's like if you say something against flat earth, I don't believe in flat earth. Not only will they, it's almost like you're non-existent to them, you know. They won't even have a discussion with you. And if they do have a discussion, they jump all over you. A lot of times you can't even finish the sentence, right? Like as to why. And so there's what I see is what you're talking. I see like a bunch of different psychological things going on there.
They're conspiracy cults, you know. Bro, conspiracy cults.
Which to me, I don't even know how to say this without being a dick, but like it hurts people. Like let's say if you had a whole bunch of people going around crying rape. Right. Oh, rape. And that's an extreme thing. Okay. And then they started talking about conspiracies and all these things about it. And it
takes away from the legitimate. Yeah.
And it causes the people that were legitimately raped to never get the justice that they deserve or never get the healthy psychological healing that they need because the other shit is just everywhere. Okay.
100%.
And that there's nothing I can do about it, but just talk to you about it. It seems I feel helpless in that sense. Right. So
yeah,
it's almost like you have to talk about conspiracy or you're not going to get any traffic. But then if you really want to talk about what's in your heart, you have to tread some kind of thin line nowadays. And I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's why, and not to be egotistical, but that's why it's the Juan on Juan podcast and not the Juan on Joe podcast. Because I'm going to speak in third person. Juan is going to talk about whatever Juan wants to talk about. and
Right.
have fun with that, right? But then you get into the whole thing where some subjects, and this is where it gets into the conspiratainment, some subjects garner bigger audiences than others, and that's where you get the introduction of grifters, people who don't believe what they're talking about, but they will speak about it only because it gets them engagement. You get what I'm saying? And then in a sort of weird way, they make themselves believe whatever it is they're talking about, right? And you can apply this to whatever. People can say this about me about you talk about homunculus too much. That's fine, but watch the 10-hour documentary. You know, I had a few people reach out. They're like, you know, I thought similarly, they laughed at you, right? Like, oh, I thought the homunculus was bullshit. I thought it was stupid, whatever.
Yeah.
I started watching it. It's literally connected to everything. And I'm like, that's what I've been fucking saying for the last however long, right? Because it is, once you start looking at it from a certain perspective. And I'm here to just present the fact. Whatever you do with the information is up to you, right? The reason I'm here, Joe, the reason I am doing the podcast is because first and foremost, I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic when it comes to all this other stuff. I've sent you that pyramid article. What was the first thing I said? It's bullshit, Joe. Without even, I just read the title. I'm like, this is crazy. And you're like, bro, this is what.
You were the first one and that's like the 5th or 6th time I've found something out. A lot of the times I've found something out that was big through Juan, right? And it's crazy. It's not because Juan's the guy it's because I'm so out of the loop that I'd literally get a text from Juan. He's like, yo, did you hear about the P. Diddy thing? Yo, did you hear about these pyramids? And I go look it up.
The
and I'm
Dr.
like,
Disrespect?
Yeah, Dr. Disrespect, all this. I go look it up and I'm like, what is going on? Because I don't, like, the mainstream stuff to me is so distracting, but now I'm like trying to get involved with it. But the little bit of time that I get to look at everything and do my research, it's like YouTube is popping up all this crazy stuff. And when I looked at the pyramids, I thought, oh, this is great. You know, I don't understand the technology, but what if this is real? But immediately you were trying to tell me, like, right off the bat, like, this is hype. There's a lot of hype here. And you didn't say it in your text, but I could tell from the, like, how you responded in the text, right? When you texted me, I was like, oh, man, maybe Juan doesn't believe this. But I didn't think it was going to be like super polar. And that when I talked about it the next day, I had people hitting me up on Facebook going, you believe that, man? It's like people were getting angry with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just said it could be cool, man. Like, what I said was go dig it up. Let's go dig it up. You know, don't get me all excited and not give me proof. That's a tease, man. You know?
Oh, that's the whole like disclosure thing with the ETs and stuff. I mean, I believed in extraterrestrials, right? Aliens, little green men since I was in, Griffin. Somebody said Griffin. Juan is a power bottom. Yeah. So I believed in aliens since I was in freaking elementary school, right? In the 2nd grade, you know, I was reading about the Bermuda Triangle and all these. I don't care what the government, like, either show me the money or shut up, right? Like, we don't want to have Senate hearings and none of this and firsthand account. No, I don't care. But we've had that for a long time. Show me an interview or tell everyone to gather up in front of the paraded in front of the White, something better than stories. Right. And that's the whole thing with I can't prove to you the homunculus because, again, it's stories. Same thing applies to it. But I'm not here like, hey, the homunculus is real, Joe. If you don't believe in it, I'm going to freaking unalive you, bro. Right. Because you don't believe the way I believe. Like, right. No, we're here to have fun. You get what I'm saying? Like, we're here to talk about these interesting topics, but we live. And so Mark called me today who was like, oh, dude, higher side chats, blah, 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 awesome, this and that. And then we started talking, and I had gone on his show last week, and he got a comment from somebody. And mind you, I don't read comments anymore. I don't care about comments, and I don't care what anyone has to say about anything. When
That's smart. That's very smart.
Your life will get better, Joe. I promise you. So somebody had posted a story, and apparently somebody commented saying, how dare he disgrace his RSS feed by having me on, right? That's what they said. Something
they said that to Greg?
No, they said that to Mark when Mark had me on his show.
Oh, Mark. What?
Yeah,
You've
Mark.
been on Mark's show like before too, though.
Yeah, and I was just on, but apparently they hate me on this, whatever. Like this one person hates me, right?
So what?
So
Who cares?
I go, yeah, bro. I disgrace. Just kidding. I was like, yeah, I went on Greg's RSS feed to disgrace it. He goes, bro, don't pay attention to that guy. That guy's an idiot. You know that guy's a dumbass. He goes, and I don't know how much you know about Rudolf Steiner, but he goes, Rudolf Steiner. This is Mark talking to me. Rudolf Steiner predicted this, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, Rudolf Steiner in the 40s predicted, that during this time there was going to be some gates opening and that these parasitic entities were going to be attaching to everybody. And he pretty much predicted trolling before the internet was even a thing. And he started talking about Aramon and all these other things and these gates. And essentially that, we're in this ideological soup and that things were going to get polarizing because you have these parasitic entities attaching themselves to people that are making them be troll, right? The troll's almost, whenever you see a troll online, they're like a parasite, right? They're like, but I always wonder if they're even a real person behind that screen, right? I often wonder if my listeners are even real people. I'm going to be honest with you, right? I go, who the hell is even listening to this thing, right?
Because you don't want to go down that road because you'll start.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
But he started talking about that, and I'm like, man, you make a lot of sense. And I don't know a lot about Rudolf Steiner, but I have heard of Aramon and these forces that sort of existed and all this other stuff. But essentially, he was predicting that we would have trolls, people who are going to be, no people or even yes men, right, sort of thing, by default in society and in reality. Because you mentioned something earlier where some people are very cookie cutter. You said something else. I'm paraphrasing, but people are cookie cutter, and maybe again. I'm not saying that I don't believe in NPCs, that whole theory that people are here just for texture, but ideologies, right? Certain people are, to speak about this in a sort of, real world terms. A lot of people are, let's be honest, they're indoctrinated. They're indoctrinated by their belief system, which is a big one, the way that they were raised up, various factors that influence the way they think. Mm-hmm. And I think that, NPC mindset is when someone's not able to break out of that bubble. And that happened to me.
Or they just look for stuff that validates their belief system.
Reality tunnel. They're in a reality tunnel and they can't break out of the reality tunnel. And that happened to me, bro. You know how many, again, dude, I had people. When I first started looking into this, they're like, yeah, don't read the book of Enoch. I'm like, why not? You're going to get possessed if you do. Oh shit, I'm going to get possessed if I read the book of Enoch. But it's so interesting, man. It's so interesting. I love this sort of stuff, right? This Enochian and angels and beings and entities. This is crazy. Yeah, don't read that. I go, wait a minute. My own family members. Hey, anything that's non-canonical, don't even demonic. And I go, but wait a minute.
Everything's a demon nowadays, man.
How are we supposed to know that we have the right one? How do we know when there's all this other extracurricular? Is it fan fiction? I'll take that. Tell me that, hey, it's fan fiction. People were just making stuff up. They were making extracurricular stories based off the main lore line, right? You have spin-offs of shows and stuff. Cool, I can take that. But to tell me to throw it out completely? No, because that just shows to you the opposite side of the same coin, right? I'm here. I want to see that underbelly. What is that? What does that say? Because when I look at alchemy, I've also read the accounts of people who talked against it and why it was bullshit. Okay. So I don't just focus on one thing. Again, I don't focus on why the homunculus is real. Hey, why it's fake and gay, right? This is fake and gay. That's when it's real. I'm going to present it to people and they do what they will with that information if they want to believe it or not. Right. So,
yeah. Well, you know what, man, I think, man, I had hope. But even before the show, that we were moving towards a place.
It's gonna be a bumpy ride, Joe.
That would be better because now a lot of the social media people are going, no, we didn't censor you guys. That wasn't us, and they're even like putting people's videos back on, like Ricky's getting videos back, and then you come out and you're like, man, I said this one thing and they demonetized.
No, I didn't say anything.
Like what?
I didn't
say
anything.
What? So. What is this I should be able to not. I'm not getting mad at it.
I didn't say anything. I can show you exactly what it was.
It's okay. It's okay. That's not my point. My point is that if you're demonetizing people for saying whatever, like that to me, that's wrong. Whether they said anything or they didn't. You could go on there and just say complete bullshit.
I didn't say anything though, Joe.
Unfactual. Okay, well, let's say I could come on here and say complete bullshit. Joe could come on here and say complete bullshit. I don't think they should take it down. As a matter of fact, I know that there's videos where I've said complete horseshit before because I didn't know any better.
Oh, me too.
So why didn't they take that down?
The way the Matrix works, bro.
So my point is how do the people that I've seen some of the most ridiculous conspiracy stuff,
yes,
talking about some of the craziest, touchiest concepts, and it's got millions of views. This is not hate, by the way. This is a wonder. How the hell are they getting pushed into the algorithm while other people who have smaller channels they're just getting demonetized, permanently demonetized? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? Like, it's almost like a conspiracy paradox, if you ask me.
Reality and society is a science experiment. And there's controllable factors and there's not controllable factors. And I think that some people, again, not to ring the Fed alert, but I think that intelligence is in a lot of these communities as well, to see how far they could push people, to see how far they could warp people's realities. And those are the true magicians, bro. These people who are manipulating these crowds. I mean, read Gustave Le Bon. That's not an occult book. And even he talks about there being this unintelligible force that takes over people when they're in crowds. A crowd is a city. A crowd
those
is
are sorcerers, brother.
They're sorcerers, and and their power is, again, the law and all these other things. So I think that a lot of these people, you look at it and you say to yourself, how the hell, what is this? Might be one of those.
You want to take a phone call at all or no? Because we're getting towards the end.
Yeah, take it.
All right. So if you want to call in, I have to see it pop up. It's 501-777-50. If you have a genuine question for Juan, call in, right? Like if you got a good question, a genuine question, call in. Okay. That'd be cool. Because sometimes, people want it. Man, they're chomping at the bit. I wish I could ask Juan this one thing, and now's my chance to ask him, So it's 501-777-5631. So what you're saying is the truth seeking community, are we getting there? Did you say that you think we're getting there with a bumpy ride, or is it still just going to be nonsense?
I think we're in the opposite direction, bro.
Really?
At least let me clarify. At least from where I stand, right? And I'm not changing anything on my behalf. My stuff is still going to be the same stuff that I've always put out. Everyone can do whatever they want, but I don't see it getting any better. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's people want the latest stories, the latest stuff. They want the current, which is fine. If you want to garner an audience, I'll tell you what, make shorts about current events with a conspiratorial twist. And dude, again, I have videos that got millions of views. Okay. I know the formula. I know how to write a script. I know how to read it. I know how to put the visuals in it. I deciphered everything. And I was making money on TikTok, bro. At what cost? You know what I'm saying? Like, at what cost? Because you gotta keep stepping it up. It's
like selling your soul, man.
Getting crazier and crazier. And the crazier and weirder it is, the more people are even if they're in the comments calling you a retard, they're still engaging you. You get what I'm saying? So I know the formula. I can do it again if I wanted to. I choose not to. You get what I'm saying? Like, I choose not to. And even my clip guy, I'm like, yeah, no, it's cut that off. Like, I'm not going to do it anymore. And he understands where I'm coming from because he's in this conspiratorial realm too. So he knows, about the community and everything. And he's like, I understand, dude. Like, but you got to just if you want to grow an audience, write 60-second shorts with a green screen, write a script, do a voiceover, whatever, put it out. I promise you.
As long as it's conspiratorial.
Because the conspiracies, bro.
I remember when you were doing that too, because it was cool. Because they were popping up. One of them,
on my TikTok,
you had a Lighting the Void shirt on, and you were talking about some dark Freemason. And I thought, is he kind of hinting something there, or did he just?
I had to start using a mic. I had to start using a mic and I transit because there was ones that I would do that because people thought I was doing like Freemasonic hand gestures and shit. And like that was all the comment. Oh, look at his hand, like all this. I'm like, all right, so now I got a mic where I can't move my hands, and I'll just talking to them. They can't. What are they gonna say about my hands? You know what I'm saying? Like they're just gonna. So, and my clip guy was like, no, bro, keep the hands, keep moving, because this is a comfortable position. You just sit down, and you're having a conversation, but then, look at the giant. People are gonna find anything, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But again, I know the formula. Go on my TikTok. I don't get the same numbers I get because again, I'm not playing into the role, but I did. I've deciphered the formula of how to go viral. It's easy. Okay. I have clips on Facebook with millions of views, on TikTok with millions of views, on Instagram with hundreds of thousands of views. I know what gets the people riled up. I choose not to engage it because.
Were you doing those videos and then, like, at some point you were like, man, it just didn't feel like you grew out of it, you think? Or you just didn't feel authentic or what?
Yeah, part of me didn't feel authentic because of everything that we talked about. And then another part of me just got tired because it is a lot of work and it overtook my life, bro.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing one a day, I was doing one a day. And guess what? When you record a batch of 10, you got to sit down and get the next 10 ready. So your mind is constantly working overtime. What crazy historical thing can I take that takes hours to explain and condense it down to a minute?
Gotcha.
And we did episodes on the chip brains. Remember that?
Yeah.
That's all research that I had
was
gotten
good stuff
from,
though. That was legitimate, man. That was good.
It was good.
And that's the thing, dude, is everything you talk about has legitimate facts behind it, right? But the way you're presenting it is like this, you just had a really good way of presenting it as it's like a major conspiracy. But if you fact check it, it's legit too. So, I thought it was good. I thought it was good. 780 area code. You're on the air with Juan Ayala. Who are you speaking with?
Hey guys, it's Craig. I just want to say I appreciate the show. Oh, nothing much. But yeah, too, oh, sorry, is my audio okay?
Yeah, you might have to turn down your radio though a little bit, or turn down the show. Is it on in the background?
No.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say, like, the best conspiracy theories are rooted in like cultural truth. So, like, when you see like COVID. You have one side that's trying to validate themselves, and the other side that's trying to validate their view, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll grasp onto these necessarily not even true details in order to try to like fear point people onto their side, but they don't realize that they're just validating and strengthening the opposite as well, right? So like if you're looking at it from the middle, you can see them both just like, you kind of giggle at it because you can see how heinous or insane a lot of these concepts are. Like the COVID vaccine is 100% effective, right? Or like nobody's immune. Like I read the paper. That's not true. But then you have the other side that's like trying to validate that vaccines are going to kill you. And like that's not true either.
Yeah. Yeah. Be careful. You could get me banned for even bringing the subject up, right?
Yeah.
I haven't listened to any conspiracy stuff recently. But anyways, sorry, I'll stop there.
It's all right.
But you can, like, the best conspiracy theories, I think, are rooted in some sort of cultural truth where it threatens some sort of bit of somebody's reality.
That's a good point.
It's the monomyth, right? So it speaks to people's souls because there is that mustard seed of truth deep down somewhere, but it's just been so misconstrued and turned into this crazy thing. Like when I talk about reptilians, I don't know if they're actual reptilians or not, but I think reptilians are like the archons, like these forces, right? Metaphysical, allegorical forces in reality that kind of hold you back from being able to complete. That's a reptilian to me, but for some people, they're actual reptilians. You know what I'm saying? Like they're actual lizard people that exist, that shapeshift and do rituals and stuff like that. Like some people believe that 100%.
No, he made a good point. I think like it's a good point. I think that's the the real truth seeking sometimes is boring to people, right? Like
History is boring, yeah.
because if you look at both sides of like you take a coin and you look at both sides, they go, oh, well, that's just a coin, right? But if you flip it on one side and go, look at the tails, man, look
Make
at
it
this.
spin,
And
yeah. Oh, look
right,
at this shit.
yeah. And but I find the truth in the gray area like super fascinating. Like I wouldn't know. Like I thought I knew a lot about alchemy, especially like energetic, transmutation, that side of alchemy. I didn't know much about the other sides of alchemy. The more, I guess you could say the more puffer side of alchemy, which is a real laboratorial procedure that people do stuff and the history of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Read the history of alchemy. The history is trippy. Like the history itself is interesting, in my opinion.
So I would like, my whole point, and one of the biggest reasons I wanted to bring you back on the show is I think I want to get back to this truth-seeking culture, not conspiracy culture, but truth-seeking culture with the passionate entertainment stuff that goes on with it, right? And I heard that, like, it made me think about that because I was rolling ceilings today, doing this while I was listening to your podcast with Greg. And I was like, see, I'm getting the best of everything with Juan. I'm getting real facts. I'm getting where he's not trying to push stuff down anybody's throat, but he's coming out with facts I've never heard. And yet I'm still being entertained because it's interesting information. And to me, that's like the heart of truth seeking. And I wish more people put out content like you did, man. And I'm not blowing smoke either. It's not like that. It's like, it's sad to me that you think that it's going to be bumpy, because I was hoping you were saying it's going to get a little better, But well, the truth is the truth, man.
No. I mean, look at even Rogan's had some pretty crazy, guests on that are really pushing the limits as to what he can say on YouTube. I mean, he's fine on YouTube. They've said some crazy stuff there that, he just had some lady break down, the scenes, that whole debacle, right? But he's fine. Sure, he doesn't get taken off of YouTube. What does that tell you? I don't know if he's part of the system or not. Like, I don't know, but a lot of people listen to that show, right? And the people who aren't going to do research, if they take the more fantastical bits and they run with it, like a lot of people have been running with this whole pyramid thing. Not everyone has time to do research, bro. They're going to listen to the talking heads, of the voices that come from their phone while they're rolling ceilings or laying down, brick or whatever, drywall, whatever it is. And then they're going to take that with them. Now, if they actually do something with that information or not, it's up to them. But that's why I said earlier, a lot of people are sick. And they like this sort of stuff because it validates the reality that they're living in, the reality tone that they're living in. And I choose not to engage that, but some people, again, you got to pay the bills, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think I disagree a little bit. I think we've come a long way from talking about super soldiers and bird aliens and charging people $3,000 to come to our event to talk about bird aliens and super soldiers too. I think we're getting there, but we'll see. You could be right, man. Time will tell. We'll do like a 2-year check-in and see where we're at, because according to Terrence McKenna and a few other people, this era that we're moving in now, Juan, is going to be the wackiest, craziest era of all. That's
why I said it's going to get worse before it gets any better.
It's going to be nuts.
It's going to be nutty, bro. You pucker up and hunker down.
So what do you got? What do you got coming up, Juan? Before we let you go, man, what's you got? Give out your links and tell everybody what you got coming up or anything you want to promote.
Find all my links and my information over on my website, www.tjojp.com. Got the Occultus Mundi on there, Homunculus Owner's Manual, comic book, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Check out my show. You can find it on my website. Appreciate you having me on, Joe. I told you, bro, we always have interesting conversations, and we don't know where they go. They go somewhere, but I always enjoy talking to you, bro. So
yeah, man. Keep up the good work. And you guys, if you never listened to Juan's podcast. Keep up
the great work.
Keep up the great work. Yeah. If you never listen to Juan's podcast, go check it out at the, give out that, like, was it TG? I can't ever say your freaking website. TJOJP, is that it? TJOJP?
Yeah, www.tjojp.com.
TJOJP.com. Tomorrow night, JM DeBoard will be on the broadcast, but we'll be at regular time. Thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. Sweet dreams. Night night.